Joined by the host of Overdrive, Bryan Hayes. It is QB Question Week here at TSN, and today we focus our attention on a team with a quarterback room that has seen lots of changes over the last 5 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired in 2022, the Steelers have yet to find a permanent solution at the quarterback position. You probably recognize some of these names: Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky. They all came and went. 0 playoff wins to show for it. But ahead of this season, the Steelers signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal and traded for former first-round pick Justin Fields. So, Hayes, is the answer to the Steelers' quarterback problem in their quarterback room today?
No, I don't believe it is. I don't have any faith, quite frankly, in either of these guys being the answers long term. Can they do enough to get into the playoffs? Likely, because that is the history of a Mike Tomlin coach team in Pittsburgh. That defense is always elite. Mike Tomlin always finishes 500. So the margins aren't that significant in terms of whether or not it's Wilson, whether or not it's Fields. It's likely don't do something to screw it up. I think that's basically what they're being asked for. But in the modern football game, in the modern NFL world, you look at a quarterback to really elevate all of the boats.
Yeah.
Right?
If you want to get into the playoffs, you can do it that way,
exactly.
But you're not going to win a championship.
You're not winning, just hoping you don't screw it up and you don't throw interceptions or you don't fumble snaps or you don't do something you're not supposed to do. Russell Wilson, we're talking 3 years now, Dave. Like, this is a guy that's a borderline Hall of Famer. Super Bowl winner, was great at times in Seattle. Denver was a disaster for him. I don't know if it's going to continue quite to that extent in Pittsburgh, but I don't think he's getting back to where he was 4 or 5 years ago. And Justin Fields cannot throw the ball down the field. That's the issue. Chicago, they liked him. They liked his mobility. They liked his leadership. It's not that he doesn't have a lot of qualities that I think the Bears appreciated. They looked at the statistics. They looked at the eye test, the game tape, whatever it happened to be. If you can't throw the ball down the field, defenses are going to figure you out.
Well, look, Russell Wilson had a bit of a bounce-back season last year, but if you look at his yards per completion, it's the lowest of his career. The fewest yards he ever threw for in his career a year ago. So, I mean, it's trending in the wrong direction. And other than Kurt Warner, name me a quarterback who was great somewhere, went somewhere and sucked, and then was great again. It doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often.
Maybe Brett Favre going to the Jets and then finishing in Minnesota.
Sure, okay.
Maybe you could,
but that's
throw
that one into the category. But in NFL history, that is a tough thing to do. You don't see that trend very often. I don't think Russell Wilson is the answer at age 35. Now, Justin Fields, I have a little more patience for because I don't think he was in a great situation in Chicago. And the trend is there. Everything's a little better last season than it's been the year. And again, some variance in here, but you can see the progress there. And the Steelers are a team, what do they say? Going back to the 70s, what do? They run the football and they play great on defense.
Yep.
You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes to be a successful quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think if Justin Fields can continue to make progress, what is he like? Yeah, now, again, there's going to be an important decision made about his contract at the end of this season. So he's not going to have 3 or 4 years to figure it out with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to have to be this season. But, I mean, the Bears didn't cut bait with him, back in the fall or, after the season.
Right.
They did it right up before the draft. There had to be some consideration that in that organization, they were looking at it and going, okay, are we really willing to part with this guy after 3 years who we invested a first-round pick? I think that said there was still some belief in him in Chicago, and I think the reason for that we may see play out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and listen, that changing of scenery and changing of culture can be very significant in pro sports. The Chicago Bears, we know their history. It has not been good for a long, long time. There's been coaching turnover. There's been issues on both sides of the ball. They have not had a quarterback that they can trust. They have not had weapons in Chicago for a long, long time. That's going to change in Pittsburgh in terms of the culture. You're walking into a winning atmosphere. They finish above 500 every single year. They go to the playoffs seemingly every single year. Tough division, very tough division with Baltimore there. Joe Burrow's healthy. Cleveland's got maybe the best defense in football or close to it. Now, if you're Justin Fields, I agree. That's the long-term play in Pittsburgh. That's what you're hoping for. You're not hoping for a resurgence of Russell Wilson because I think that would probably fizzle out at some point.
Right.
And you'd understand that that's likely what's going to happen by the end of the year. The play is Fields. Now, he's got to win the battle out of camp. But I think the tie should go to Fields. Give him that opportunity. I don't see MVPs in his future. I don't see Offensive Player of the Year votes in his future. But can he do enough to secure that job where, like you said, they run the ball, the defense shows up, Tomlin knows how to win, and he protects and gets them there? That's possible. Winning a Super Bowl with Justin Fields, I don't see that at any point. Playoffs, it's possible if he continues that growth.
Well, of course, if you're going to replace someone, you have to have someone better. And the side effect of never being under 500, you're never picking in the top 10. So the Steelers can't necessarily look at the best of this year's coming quarterback crop and say, well, we'd rather have that guy than Justin Fields, unless it's a total washout this year, which, as you said, never happens under Mike Tomlin. In his 17 years as head coach of the Steelers, Mike Tomlin has yet to have one single losing record, but his last playoff win came in 2016.